about structural links and life energy. Now let's consider three important factors in magic. First factor. In every case, the magician uses something which represents the target of the action. Case number one, the 7 hairs with follicles. It has the same genetic code as the individual for whom the healing is to be done. Case number 2, again, hair and fingernails. Case number 3, the same bacteria which are in the wound. Incidentally, the person who found out about this method very likely had not the slightest idea of bacteria, just realized it worked. And his mapping of the universe, whichever he had, then yielded a valid result for a technology. Maybe he or she simply believed in the healing power of copper sulfate. Case number 4, the written names and the visual imagination of the people to fall in love. Case number 5, the photo of the person. And in the case number 6, the charismatic church is a visual imagination of the mind of the people who are sending the healing. Magicians usually call this representative of the target, such as hair, fingernails, photo, clothing, visualization, the psychic link. For our purpose of putting magic into a more scientific language, I prefer the term structural link or structural connection. The structural link can be in any form, which ranges from being purely physical to purely mental or imagined, which means abstractions. If we analyze the 6 cases of which we talked, we come to the following conclusions then. The use of a structural link to the target makes the distance of the target to the magical operator irrelevant. Therefore, the first characteristic of magical action or of magical operations is that magic is action upon the extended universe or action at a distance. This action is possible with the help of a structural link to the target. And that distance can also involve time. You can very easily time an operation when it should operate. Second factor, how can we determine the nature of the action itself is a question here. In each one of the cases above, we can find something which represents a desired action. The way in which the magician represents a desired action is very similar to the way he or she establishes a structural link with the target of the action. Structural link 2. Case number 1, the health of the tree. That's its surplus of life force. Case number 2, the dull decaying in the tomb where the corpse decays. That connects with the person. Case number 3, the sample of bacteria being destroyed in copper sulfate. Number 4, the letter square. Typically an abstract one, that linkage. Number 5, the settings of the radionics device. Equally abstraction, solidified abstraction, as you will learn later. Case number 6, the visual imagination, again an abstraction, but this time from the brain, of health in the minds of the members of the congregation. Therefore, the second important characteristic of magical action or of magical operations is the following. The nature of the desired effect or of the action is determined by means of a structural representation or a structural link. And this means that in a magical action you work with 2 structural links, one that represents a target and another one that represents a desired action upon the target. And now we come to the third factor, which very often is called psychic energy. There's the following question. How is action at a distance possible, and what determines the success of such action? talked several times about that transfer test you can do with a G-card. And to find out, you need to compare magical practices that bring results with those that do not work. The observation of magicians throughout the ages showed that the magical practice fails to bring their expected results for one of two reasons. Number one, there is psychic blockage, psychic defense, or any other interference. Number two, there is insufficient psychic energy raised. The first point will be the object of a later lesson in which we talk about success strategies. And you can also learn there about psychic defense and how to overcome interference. The second point calls for further examination. Let's now analyze what magicians do when they practice their art and what exactly they mean when they are talking about psychic energy. Case number one, the magician does nothing. Power apparently is within the tree. Well, I put a question mark there. I know it's within the tree. It's a life force. Case number two, it works even if the magician does not raise a lot of psychic energy, especially if the structural link to the target person is good, such as hair, fingernails, or clothing. Number three, no psychic energy in addition to the life force of the body is necessary. Case 4, works only if the magician develops and projects a lot of psychic power. Case 5, there is sufficient evidence that trained magicians or strongly emotional persons have quicker and more powerful success with radionics than others. Case number 6, we don't need to talk much about this. In the charismatic setting, the emotional power and life force that's generated with it is at a peak. Magicians of all ages knew of the necessity to develop strong, very strong psychic powers or magical powers to be successful. Only if the structural link is effective and when life energy is abundant from some source other than themselves do they not need to raise those powers within themselves. They realize that life energy is the medium which makes magical action possible. In other words, life energy is what some of them call psychic energy. In fact, our research has proven that life itself would be impossible without magical interaction with a distant environment. Or I can safely say, no life without magic, at least not in our planet.